Welcome back to the Games Match Podcast. As always, I'm your host, William Liberty, and with me is...
Fawwaz Muhammad Yusuf.
And today we got some stuff. We got Overwatch Beta, delayed till mid-February. We got Mighty Number 9, delayed again. We got Valkyria Chronicles HD, coming spring of 2016 to the PS4. We got new gameplay details for Valkyria Chronicles Azure Revolution. Bunch of stuff news there. TMNT game made by Platinum Games, official trailer, cool stuff. Street Fighter V gets a story trailer and news about their first DLC character. And that's pretty much what we got this week. So let's talk about what we played this week. I had an interesting experience happening to me last night, and I'm just going to go in details. So... I got a bunch of, iTunes money, right, for Christmas, right? So I'm like, okay, I don't really use iTunes that much. Like, I might pick up a couple songs, like an occasional, movie or two. And I was like, I don't have that many games on my iOS. And I'm just like, I need to get something like a new game for my iOS or something, right? So I'm like,
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And I'm looking at, and I'm like, oh, I didn't realize this. XCOM Enemy Within is actually on the iOS. I saw a trailer for it a while back, so I was like, oh sure, it's only like $13. It's not that much money to spend on a game, just so that I can have it portable, right? Because being able to play XCOM portably, I thought would be really, really cool, right?
Yeah.
And I have an iPad, so this makes sense.
Yeah.
So I buy it. And I'm like, all right, it seems like everything's good running, all right. And I immediately get into the actual gameplay, and I'm like, oh, okay. So they obviously graphical downgrade. Okay, that makes sense. It's not like a PC in a box. That's not what the iPad is meant to be. So I'm like, okay, but then it immediately crashes before it loads the mission, and I'm like, huh, that's weird. So then I boot it up again, and I go, okay, I'm not going to do the tutorial. I'm just going to go straight into the game, and start a new mission. All right, cool, everything's good. Crashed again. So then I turn off my iPad, restarted, boot up the game again, and I actually get past the loading mission screen. So I'm like, oh, sweet. And the first thing I notice is right away... It's not that the fact that the game is downgraded graphically, it's just that it is chugging. It is chugging really, really bad. And I don't know if that's just because of my iPad, or just all the shit that's on it, or just how it's optimized, but the game is chugging, right? So I'm just like, this is not great already. And then I'm just like, what would be perfect if the game would just crash right now so I didn't have to play it anymore. And then about 10 seconds later, the game crashed, and I was like, well, I would have had more entertainment if I just flushed $13 down the toilet. That would have been more entertaining. So, lesson learned, folks. Don't buy games on the iOS. Don't invest in Mac. Fuck.
Oh my god, that is funny.
Keep going.
Before you bought it?
What?
Yeah, you didn't check out any of the reviews before you bought it?
No, unfortunately,
store, right?
I actually did look up line, and I was not the only one who was getting this problem. Apparently, a lot of... And people said that even when you eventually brute force past the loading mission screen, it's unfortunate because apparently it's one of the most unstable games to be released recently. It's just so unstable, and it will just constantly crash. So I was just like, I should have done my research. That's on me. I made a mistake, and more of a cautionary tale, I guess.
Damn,
but then I immediately bought a game on Steam. I haven't played a single hour of it yet, but from what people have told me, it's a really good game, and I'll probably talk about it next week. But all's good in the world now. What about you, Fawwaz? What did you play?
um, well, I was not nearly as adventurous as you. I just went back and decided to give The Witcher 3 another shot.
Okay, yeah.
Because yeah, I remember how I mentioned on the podcast last week. And yeah, it's not bad so far.
Mm-hmm.
It's and this is the issue with open world games. Is when you leave them for a very long time and you come back, you're just trying to get your bear. You spend like the first hour or so just trying to get your bearings
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you
yeah.
just you can't remember anything. You don't know where you are. So that's all I was trying to figure out. But it's I'll probably go into more detail next week, but so far, so good. Like I
Mm-hmm.
always said, I liked the core gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't like the main campaign. So, we'll see if I can power my way through a couple of boring missions and see if the campaign
Mm-hmm.
like turns the corner. Because one thing about The Witcher 3 that I
Mm-hmm.
really really like and that I want to like get to is that I criticize Telltale games a lot, right, for the way they handle their like decisions. Not just Telltale games, video games in general.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do a
Video games.
very piss poor job of handling like choice and
Choice.
consequence.
Yeah, yeah,
Besides
yeah.
the fact that most video games don't have much of a consequence for your choice, there's one other thing that I never even thought about that The Witcher 3 does really well, and that's that when you make a big decision in The Witcher 3, it doesn't tell you, Like you're just playing the game and you're making your decisions, and then a couple missions down the line, you find out that seemingly irrelevant thing that you did
Mm-hmm.
actually caused the butterfly effect and someone has died because of it, right? It's
Yeah.
not like all these games where like a giant sign pops up and it's like, oh, big decision time.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
happens more organically, and I appreciate it because that's how it happens in real life.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's never something that comes up to me and tells me, okay, Fawaz, you make a big decision right now because this is life or death. It just happens that way. Um,
It's very subtle. Like it's from what people have told me about, especially from the Witcher games and the Witcher 3, is that decisions that you make in that game that don't seem that very relevant actually do have pretty big ramifications later on, and it does come organically into the story.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and I appreciate that. So that's one of the reasons why I really wanna, like I said, man, the game does more right than wrong. So
Mm-hmm.
so I think it deserves a second shot from me. Plus, what do they call it? CD Projekt Red are awesome. They just released some free avatars on PSN,
That's
and
amazing.
I mean, sure, it's like minor stuff, but most developers don't release the avatars for free, so.
Yeah. The
Um,
amount of free stuff that they've been releasing for Witcher 3, as we've said before countless times, is just absolutely bonkers in comparison.
Absolutely bonkers. And then also on top of that, the DLC, the main plot of the DLC actually looks really cool. So
Mm-hmm.
if I guess the way I'm gonna do it is if I can make it to level 30, because
Mm-hmm.
the level cap. You're supposed to be like the DLC requires you to be level 30 to play it. If I
Yeah,
can make
yeah.
it to level 30 and I'm still enjoying the game, then I'll buy the DLC. And I think at that point I'll probably just, if I can make it to level, because I think I'm like level 18 now. So if I can make it to level
Yeah, yeah,
30,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure I will just end up finishing. At that point, I'm sure I have been absorbed by the game, and I will just finish it.
Yeah,
So yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Well, good stuff, good stuff. So let's get into some news.
getting
All
some.
right, Overwatch beta delayed till mid-February.
Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because it's one of those delays where because like when they took the beta down in December, right? They
Hmm.
were like, and they said it outright. They were like that their target right now is January, right?
Yeah.
But obviously, that's liable to change because when they bring the beta back, they want to bring it back with first of all they have some balance changes that they're going to
Hmm.
implement.
Yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
already said that they were going to change Torbjorn, the little dwarf, and they were going to change Bastion, the transforming robot,
Hmm.
because first of all, those characters were barely ever played, and Bastion was just not fun. He was not fun to play against, and he was not fun to play as. Bastion was just poorly designed. Um,
Like, like hero to use, I guess.
Yeah, he was just a poorly designed hero. Very few people even played him. So yeah. But then they're also they said they're gonna include a new game mode when it comes back, some new maps, and they're adding some polish to the game's progression and reward systems. So we're gonna get a very very close to finished product when it comes back. Unfortunately, us console players aren't gonna be able to play it, but I enjoy watching. I really enjoy watching this game. So I was kind of disappointed to hear this, but at the same time, they already set the precedence. They were like that, the target is January, but it's subject to change.
Yeah.
And then for the entire month of January, we didn't hear anything about it, so most people already deduced that it was going to get delayed. Hopefully, this is the last delay. But this is Blizzard, so yeah.
Yeah, we know it's up for contention. But also the thing, like, I do agree with you completely, is that it's the delay overall is like, look, we want to change some things. We want to give you guys more stuff to do in this upcoming beta.
Yeah.
And overall, we just want to make this next beta a better experience. And it's not like this isn't affecting the official release of the game. Like,
no.
They haven't delayed the official release. This is just a delaying of the beta.
Yep.
So that I'm like, okay, whatever, It's not like the game is being delayed. So yeah, no, I honestly, I was not really that teed off by them. What I was teed off by was our next piece of news. So, Mighty Number 9 got delayed again. And it's just become kind of farcical at this point. Like, it's like every time we talk about Mighty Number 9, it's not any news like, here's a new feature, or here's a new, like, gameplay trailer, or here's, like, anything. It's just been delayed again. It's like...
Such, like, you know what, actually, Tanner, I say we take a moment of silence. Because with this delay, I think all of Concept and KG Unifuna's what's this thing called? What's the word I'm looking for? Goodwill. Let's just go with that. Goodwill. All the goodwill, what little goodwill that gamers had left for KG Unifune and Concept and Mighty Number 9 dies with this delay. You know what's even funny about this delay is that they didn't even delay it to another date. They delayed it to a window. Yeah. Like, so this...
It's very interesting to me because it's like, at this point, it's like I was reading some of the actual, like, statement, and it's like at the very least, they are aware of how incompetent they are. Like, at the very least, they're not pretending like this isn't their fault, and they flat out say, like, this was a result of miscalculation on us. Like, they very, very poorly miscalculated what they were able to accomplish and what time frame they had. And it's a real shame because it's like, if they had just came at this with a realistic goals in mind, then no one would be mad. Like, it would suck. It's like, wow, this game is taking a really, really long time to come out, right?
Yeah.
But at the very least, we wouldn't be getting the constant, like, size of delays and delays and delays. And, like, it's just been so poorly handled. Yeah, it's frustrating. It's like, I don't think this is going to be a bad game. I think when this game comes out, whenever the fuck it does, it's going to probably be a relatively good game. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's just so annoying because it's like, you want to make a good first impression, and, you have failed on this good first impression on so many different levels, and The funny thing was that I was reading the article that you sent me, and I was like, oh, there's a guy called Jack the Ripper in the comments section. I wonder who that is. And I was like, huh. It was really, I don't know, I thought that was really funny. Because I
Yeah,
was just
yeah.
like, oh, you're like one of the top comments right now.
But no, for real. You know, one other thing to bear in note is that what effect is this going to have on other Kickstarters? Not just like by concept or KG and Afune, just
Hmm.
Kickstarters in general. What effect is this going to have? Because this at the time was one of the most successful Kickstarters in history, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
now at this point, I can't imagine the people that backed this aren't regretting their. If I had backed this, I'd be regretting my decision right now because like I don't even have faith that this game is going to be functional when it launches because it's like these dudes just don't seem like they know what they're doing, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. Well, it's
It,
also it's another thing that I'd also like to point out is like some people in the comments are like, well, Kickstarter is always a gamble. Like you should not like realistically, you never know how the development cycle for this your game that you're putting money towards is going to go. But even that being said, I have seen other companies handle their Kickstarter goals, their funds just way better, and I just felt it was just a misuse, miscalculation on the development team to think that this game was going to come out as quickly as they thought it was.
mhm.
And I don't know, I think it's also like their stretch goals might have been a little bit too ridiculous. Like they had stretch goals to release this game on almost every single different system imaginable, and that's really hard. Like
That is really
realistically, that
difficult.
that is hard, and that should have been warning number one. I don't know.
Honestly,
I don't want to go into this to like too long, but it's kind of like yeah, it's really sucks. It's really unfortunate. It's unfortunate that this is all we can talk about on the podcast. It's just my number nine being.
honestly, yeah, because I could go on for a little while longer on Mighty Number Nine, but let's move from some really upsetting news to
Mm. Yeah.
really good news. The Valkyria
Yeah.
Chronicles has gotten a Western release window. It's
Yep.
not a release date,
By a
but
window.
it's supposed to be coming out in spring 2016. They released an English trailer for it, so
Mm-hmm.
so that's good news because I mean, up until this point, it wasn't official. I mean, it was assumed, but it wasn't officially confirmed that this was even coming
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
North
Yeah.
America.
Yeah.
So at least we have that confirmation. Unfortunately, like I said, we didn't get an exact release date, and we also didn't get any information about whether because the Japanese version of the HD re-release comes with a
Mm-hmm.
demo for
Yeah.
Azure Revolution, but
Yeah.
they didn't mention anything about the demo for the North American version, not yet anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so there is that. But hey, we've got a release window, so we thank God for that. How do you feel about this
Oh,
then?
I'm super excited. Because like, well, one, it's a great game. Like, and I bought it for the PC, obviously, because I wanted to, right?
Yeah,
But it is a really great game. It's a very similar to XCOM in a lot of ways.
really?
But yeah, it is. Realistically, it is because it's turn-based combat, but from a different perspective. Like you get to pick and select all your different soldiers, but you move them from like a over the shoulder view instead of like a over the top view.
Okay.
And there's cover and obviously like XCOM, but there's
Yeah.
different kinds of cover. Like there's actual like you can hide people in the grass, you can go prone and do stuff like that, and and there's buffs to having certain characters be in certain environments. Like if you hide a character in this particular character in the grass, their accuracy shoots up to like 20% higher or something like that. So
Okay.
it's a really good system, and I feel like just the game, this obviously the game being polished a lot more, and all the DLC being free. Although most of the DLC is kind of like side content, it doesn't really add to the main plot, but it's just like side stuff you can do.
Okay.
But it's really I really enjoyed it, and I think it's actually a really good game that a lot of people never got to play. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that they made this port because this is a perfect game for just a good JRPG for your PS4, and can't go
Yeah.
wrong with that.
Is there permadeath? Sorry.
Yes, there is permadeath, but it's kind of like the weird vein of like Fire Emblem, in which there's permadeath, but characters will still show up in the story.
Uh,
depending on who they are. Like there's certain characters that are like the main cast, and then there's like a bunch of side characters. And when
okay.
they die, they're not really part of like the main story. So when they die, they're gone forever, and it's like you know. Um, but there's certain characters that it's like even if they do like die, it's not like the game's story is going to change in any way.
Okay,
Um,
that makes sense because I mean it would have been very difficult for them to they'd have to like record a bunch of different cutscenes based on which character survived. So no, that makes sense.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's gonna be a little jarring,
Yeah,
to keep.
it's not in that way. It's kind of like in X, like just comparing it to XCOM in a way. Like XCOM two, sorry, XCOM story. The characters in the story are all people that are in the control center. Like you know
Yeah,
what
so
I
those
mean?
are kind of
They're all safe from getting shot or killed. Whereas all the soldiers, they don't really have any character at all except for what you kind of give them.
yeah.
You kind of imprint on them from a player perspective. So when they die, it doesn't really affect the plot that much. But in this game, having certain characters die, yeah, it would kind of ruin the plot like in a lot of different ways. So, so I understand that, but it's either way. I think it's a really, really good game that a lot of people just didn't get to play. So I'm really glad that this HD port is coming.
Yeah. Real quick before we move off of this, one last thing of note. When I got my PS3,
Mm-hmm.
a couple like 2 years ago, I went to EB Games and I was debating between buying Skyrim again and buying Valkyria Chronicles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Skyrim won out just ever so slightly
Mm-hmm.
because because well, first of all, because it was a known commodity, I had already, I played Skyrim, but also because of trophies. Honestly, as funny as this sounds, the reason why I didn't buy Valkyria Chronicles on PS3 was because there was no trophy support.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So, so yeah, now I get now as I was seeing the HD remaster trailer, I was like, wow, I actually made the right decision because now I can play the game for the first time
Mm-hmm.
and fully enjoy it without worrying about missing out on I mean, sure, trophies are generally irrelevant.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
And
just
I think there is going to be trophy support in the
oh yeah,
PS4
yeah,
version because there was trophy support or like I don't know how you would call it, Steam achievements for this game when I bought it on the PC. So I would assume that it would be relatively easy to just move that to as trophies. But
yeah.
but yeah, cool stuff. And then we got more Valkyria Chronicle news for the Valkyria Chronicles pseudo sequel, Valkyria Chronicles Azure Revolution. A
Yeah.
bunch of gameplay details that they were revealing and whatnot. The kind of very classic Valkyria Chronicle stuff, where it's like there's a briefing for missions, including a map and a description of the objectives. One of the new systems that they talked about in the game, which I thought was interesting, it's triggered by how the enemy deals damage to your army and vice versa,
Okay.
and it's called emotion. So each character can sort of go into these emotional states. Like one is surprise, in which it can be triggered by an unexpected action. An opening is created, and a character is vulnerable to attack. There's impatience, is when when at a disadvantage the character becomes impatient, losing the will to fight. The chance of a counterattack is lessened. Anger, the character becomes enraged towards the enemy, increasing his attack but lowering his defense. And then finally, determination, which is increases defense, making a defensive action advisable when in this state. So
Okay.
there's a lot of different states now, which I do like a lot, because one of the more interesting aspects of the first game was these sort of like trigger states that you could put people in. Like, for example, there was one where it's like there's certain characters that are kind of they're more group oriented, so you want to kind of bunch all your soldiers together because they all get buffed by doing that, right?
Okay.
And then there's other soldiers which they're kind of like lone wolves, right? So you want to keep them like by themselves, sort of fighting their own personal war. Metal Gear style. That and those characters get buffed in those kind of states. So I like this new state system with the emotions because
Okay.
it adds a new like level of tactical like if I do this, there's a chance that this character will get angry, or there's a chance that this character will get impatient or something like that, and it makes you have to adapt and change your decisions on the fly, which I like a
That
lot.
that is pretty cool. Yeah, I didn't because I was reading it, but I didn't know how much of it was new, or so I was actually going to defer to you on that.
Hmm.
So
No, this is new. Like there wasn't really an emotion state in the first game.
okay, yeah, that is pretty interesting. Yeah, just following the development of this game. It's still an SRPG, right? It's
Yeah,
not like just your basic turn based. It's still a strategy game, right?
yeah. That was the one thing that I was getting a little bit confused because I don't have they revealed any actual gameplay footage with like a HUD or something like that because I've been having trouble finding it.
I haven't found anything yet,
Yeah,
and
because from what I can tell, it seems like it's going to be a similar system to Valkyria Chronicles 1, but maybe altered slightly.
okay.
One thing I do know is one thing I do know that is different. Well, it's sort of different from Valkyria Chronicles 1 is that when a character gets downed, you have a certain amount of time to revive them, and all you have to do is kind of send a character up there and pick them up, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's a slightly different system in this one, where the timer is a little bit more. You have a more limited time than you did in Valkyria Chronicles 1, because it was like actual seconds now. But that's sort of different. The other thing that's also really different is there's melee and magic in this game now. So
Oh.
one of the things that you couldn't do in Valkyria Chronicles 1 is that there was no melee. You could be point blank with someone, and you would never butt someone with your gun. You would just shoot them like square in the face. So there was no melee in Valkyria Chronicles 1. So I'm really interested to see that because they've obviously showed off a lot more like sword play and magic users and whatnot.
Yeah.
The one thing that personally, just as someone who does really like Valkyria Chronicles 1, I like the new features. I think like overall the game looks pretty damn good, like presentation wise. But I kind of miss the old game style in a way. Like I feel like the old game style was very like watercolor and cell shaded, right? And this game is
Yeah.
still kind of cell shaded, but I feel like it's been pushed more into very
Anime.
anime. Like, I got nothing against anime. I'm okay with anime. I love Persona, but but I feel like in the case of Valkyria Chronicles, it's a little bit disappointing because one of the most interesting aspects of Valkyria Chronicles was this very interesting watercolor style. Like it almost looked like a bit of like a painting, like a pseudo painting in a
Yeah.
weird
And
way.
then the contemporary setting, right?
Exactly.
With the times. And no, I definitely noticed it, and I sort of share your disappointment because it's like Valkyria Chronicles had a very unique look. You looked
Mm-hmm.
at a character from Valkyria Chronicles and you knew they were from Valkyria Chronicles. But
Yes.
now a lot of these characters just look like your stereotypical anime characters. I mean, no, and nowhere is it more apparent than in the villain, the chick with the scythe with the massive tits. Yeah,
Yeah.
like that was just when I saw that I was like, what?
Yeah,
Because
like,
like
and it's kind of interesting. I think that she's the same character from Valkyria Chronicles
she just
1.
had surgery, right? In between.
I don't think so because I was looking at footage.
I wasn't being serious.
No, I know you weren't being serious, but I mean, like, I kind of got that for Fawwaz. Big surprise. But what I'm saying is that I actually looked at it and I did notice that, in the first game, she actually did have a relatively larger chest size, but the way that her armor presented itself, it's less noticeable. Whereas I feel like in this, it's very noticeable. Like, it does not take long to notice how big her chest is in the trailers for this game than it was in Valkyria Chronicles 1. I don't
Yeah.
know if I'm just completely blind, but just the way that she was designed in 1, I never really noticed that until 2 came out. And and I had to go back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. It's yeah. Overall, it definitely looks a lot more anime. Like
Yeah.
the dudes, because in the first game they're all wearing like military uniforms and stuff like that, and in this they're like wearing, they're dressed like anime characters.
Yeah.
But hey, we'll see. I mean, we've waited this long for a sequel. I'm not about to complain about minor stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's more of a thing where I obviously they're trying to, broaden, I guess you could say weirdly broaden the audience. But we'll see. Overall, I'm still excited though. I'm hoping that we get a North American release. I would assume that we will because they're making Valkyria Chronicles HD for the PS4, so it seems like they're trying to get people, interested in Valkyria Chronicles again because this is a relatively older game.
Yeah, I'll be surprised if we don't get one. But
yeah.
Only God knows.
Only God knows. Yep. All right. So next on our list we got TMNT. We officially revealed. This is a platinum game, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles platinum game, and boy, this looks actually pretty good.
Yeah. So this marks the third time Platinum Games and Activision have worked together to make a video game adaptation of an animated series. They started with Korra, which was shit, and then they had Transformers last year, which apparently was really good. I didn't get to I didn't play it, but I've heard a lot of good stuff about it. And this doesn't look half bad, I watched the gameplay. It looks crazy. The Turtles did some crazy co-op stuff together, and I'm definitely gonna keep my eye on it. Because I mean, I've never played a Platinum Games hack and slash that had co-op in it. So yeah, if this it hasn't been confirmed. But if there is co-op, I'll probably pick this up. See if I can convince like you or one of my other friends. Oh, real quick, I'm sorry. One last thing about Valkyria Chronicles, the HD release, the price. They confirmed the price as well. It's $30 in US. Yeah, it's $30 in the US because I wasn't sure if they were going to hit us with that full price bullshit. So glad to know that it's only going to be $30. We don't know how much it's going to be in Canadian because shout outs to the Canadian dollar. But at least we know it's not going to be a full price game, even in Canada. But just had to throw that out there real quick. In regards to the TMNT though, it looks really fun. But I'm interested to hear what you think about it.
I think it's good overall because I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, it seems like they're doing some pretty good stuff here, and the style, I like the style, like the comic booky harsh line style. I like that they're referencing some of the characters that what's the one? It's the Rhino with the sunglasses.
Bebop and Rocksteady.
Yeah. Because they don't get a lot of play in a lot of they don't get a lot of play in other Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games, and I'd love to see more of them.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see them. I'm actually really excited to see them in this game.
Were you sorry?
No. What were you gonna say?
Were you a fan of the Turtles growing up?
The Turtles growing up.
Yeah, were you a fan of them when you were younger?
I kind of was. Weirdly enough, I remember watching a lot of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It wasn't the classic series. There was a 2003 series that was very anime.
I know the one.
You know the one I'm talking about? I watched a lot of that one.
The one where Shredder turned out to be an alien, spoiler alert.
I think so. Maybe? I know it was the one where Splinter's background was Splinter just freaking watched his owner, who was a samurai, and slowly learned how to become a master.
That shit was so ridiculous.
Oh, I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
I was like, you're trying to tell me that irregular rats.
Oh, it was great.
Learned kung fu from watching someone else.
Hey, listen, you know what? It makes more sense than the movie adaptation in the Michael Bay version.
What movie adaptation?
What do you mean one movie? The Michael Bay adaptation in which...
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You're just... it's like, ignorance is bliss, Fawwaz.
But the reason why I asked was because me and my brother... So I have an older brother. I have a younger brother, but like he wasn't born at this time. So me and my older brother, we had these neighbors, and there were two of them about the same age as us. So there were four of us, and we used to act out episodes of the Turtles, and we all
Oh
picked
yeah.
one because there was four of us.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I being the youngest of the four, I ended up being Michelangelo.
Hey.
So I was just gonna ask if you used to do that when you were younger, and which turtle you ended up being.
Fuck. I don't know if that I would say that out of all the turtles, I liked Leo and I liked Dawn the most.
Oh, really?
Like I like those two in particular because I always liked I kind of liked how Dawn was a nerd, and it's like because I was kind of a nerd. I
That
don't know.
actually makes a lot of
I
sense.
never really reenacted the turtles. The only thing I used to do that was very anime, which I'm very embarrassed to say, is that you know how there's certain like anime characters that run with their arms behind their backs. So when I was a kid, I thought that could run faster if I did that. So trying to imagine like a 10-year-old me running with my arms behind my back. Oh, it's very embarrassing in retrospect.
Hey, no judgment here, okay? It's hey, we all did
Well,
our.
you know what it was is that also Super Smash Brothers, Fox, when he does his dash, he puts his arm behind his back. So I was starting.
Fox was a badass.
I was noticing this. I was like, it's got to be a real thing because a lot of people are doing it. But yeah.
That's hilarious. But moving on moving on to. Well, anyway, I couldn't think of a good segue there.
Yeah.
So,
It takes practice. It takes training, hard training for Waz.
My bad. But yeah, so Capcom recently released a trailer for a story update that is a free story update that's going to be released in June, a couple months after the game itself actually comes out. Okay. And this is brand new. This is like brand new. Capcom have never done this before. Like I think I joke on the podcast actually frequently about how Street Fighter games do not acknowledge their stories. Like funny story, because recently a couple of costumes leaked, and one of the costumes was Chun Li in a police outfit, right? And my first thought was, why the hell is Chun Li in a police outfit? And I was like, wait a minute, she's a police officer, and that just goes to show how the games do like the Street Fighter story and Street Fighter games feel completely separate.
Yeah,
because
it's really odd because it's like from what people have told me, there is a lot of Street Fighter lore that just some people just don't know about, and it's not like one of those things where like a lot of people know the lore from Mortal Kombat because the whole game is kind of based around the lore of Mortal Kombat. But with Street Fighter, it's weird because it's like some people just have no idea that there's this really big, intricate, crazy story.
An actually good story. I don't know if you've seen the animated series from back in the the animated movie from back in the day.
I've heard things.
If you haven't, you should check it out. It's just look up Street Fighter the animated movie, and I'm sure it's really good. I mean, the dialogue is kind of whack, and it's translated.
I mean, like I didn't watch the animated movie. I have seen clips from the animated TV show. And especially that one Bison clip where he's staring.
Yes!
It's the best.
No. It's better than that. Like, if for nothing else, just to watch the scene where Chun Li and Vega duke it out in Chun Li's apartment. Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm a little biased towards that scene because the scene. Apologies. I was a young kid when I watched this movie, so let's just throw that out there, right? Because the scene starts off with Chun Li in the shower, right? So being a young, impressionable boy, I was like, wow, this scene is already the best scene in this movie. But like ignoring that, like the actual fight between Chun Li and Vega, it is absolutely amazing. And if only for that scene, you can probably find it on YouTube. Actually, I recommend it. But there's a lot of
I find this really funny because going back to the question we had a couple weeks ago, it's all starting to come to bed. That was when the seeds were planted.
Oh my god, I didn't even think about it. Like,
It's all about them thighs, man. It's all about
it's
them thighs.
all about them thighs.
Oh.
Moving on.
I love how we're slowly connecting all the podcasts together. There's like this
Oh my God.
intricate, like, it's great.
But yeah, there's actually some really good story in Street Fighter, and the story trailer looked pretty damn good. Now they haven't. Okay, now how it's gonna work, right? The game is gonna launch, and everyone is gonna have their story mode. You know, like standard Street Fighter.
Okay.
You have your opening, like still image, quote unquote, cinematics that give you some background to the characters, right?
Yeah.
And it lets you know who they are. Now, once you complete all of them, then the actual cinematic story expansion gets released a couple months later, which is going to be like, I don't know if it's gonna work like the Mortal Kombat story mode where you play one character for a couple of chapters and then you see some cutscenes in the process, or it's gonna work like the Guilty Gear story mode, which was just a story. It was just like a 2 hour long cutscene. Hopefully it works like the MK one, because the Guilty Gear one, I can't lie, it felt like a chore just sitting there. And then first of all, this is anime we're talking about, so there was a bunch of like unnecessary dialogue involved too. Hopefully it works more like the MK one, because that felt more I felt more involved in the Injustice. I actually really enjoyed the Injustice story mode. It kind of hurts when you're playing a character that you don't know how to play, so it kills the vibe a little bit. But I would prefer if they took that route.
I also kind of agree with you, because like there are only this is a weird example, but I've only really played 2, maybe 3 different story modes in fighting games. And like the example I have is that I played the Persona 4 Arena story mode, and then I played the Persona Arena Ultimax story mode. And I actually really didn't like the Persona 4 Arena story mode, because it was like you had to play like each character separately.
Yeah.
And then it was worse there, because what would happen is that you would go through a character's story, and then it would be like to be continued, and the only way to get the second part of it was to complete other characters' stories. So in Ultimax they fixed that, in which it's just one big long story in which you switch characters. And I prefer that style, because it makes it a more grounded storytelling method, instead of like I'm gonna see the story from this character's perspective and then this character's perspective. I would rather just one that everyone's sort of a part of.
They also released a really cool trailer for the cinematic.
Oh yes, that trailer was pretty dope.
Yeah, like I was surprised, because this is Street Fighter. Like Street Fighter is the franchise that I joke about frequently, because it's just like the games have never had any kind of story to them. I think the Alpha series is were the games that had the most story. Every other one, Street Fighter 4 story is garbage. There's a scene in Street Fighter 4 where who was it? Zangief and oh my god, I can't even remember. But like the reasoning behind the fights was so ridiculous. One person asks Fei Long for an autograph, and he's like, "If you want this autograph, you're gonna have to whoop my ass," or something ridiculous like that. Yeah. I was like, "What the hell?" So yeah, it was surprising to see this. But one thing, there's a scene in the trailer where Charlie, he's looking at a picture of Guile, right? The internet has already started going ham with that one with that one frame. They switched it up to put an image of Armika's butt in there. I'm like, wow, you guys.
I gotta see these gifs. Oh, there's probably some good ones.
I'm like, wow, you guys don't waste any time with that. They also did this thing where I don't know if there's this one episode of X-Men where Wolverine is lying in the bed. And
yes, I know that. Oh, that freaking image is so great.
Yeah, they put Charlie's face on Wolverine, and then they put Guile on. I actually don't even know what was originally in that picture frame.
Oh, the
because like the
Wolverine
only
one?
version
No, I
I
don't know either, just because it's been edited so many times.
Yeah, the only version I know is where Wolverine is looking at a picture of Akuma, and it's referencing how Wolverine and Akuma were best buds, were best friends for life in Marvel vs. Capcom, because the two of them made a very dangerous pairing. But yeah, man, I'm really excited, and it's gonna be completely free too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah. Oh, and we've been talking about this for a while. I almost forgot to mention something else.
Yeah.
Capcom mentioned that the first DLC character
Yes.
is gonna be released in March.
Yes.
Yeah, the release it's gonna be released in March, and they were like that. The impression I got, they didn't say this explicitly, but the impression that I got from the announcement is that when you complete when you play through the offline modes with the different fighters and the arcade mode and survival and all that stuff, you get enough fight money to purchase the first warrior. So, and they were like, once the first warrior is released, they're gonna start doing daily challenges to make it easier to generate in-game currency. So what I'm assuming is that they're gonna go with a sort of Hearthstone method where, because Hearthstone had a bunch of achievements. You know, if you completed training mode with every single character, you got a certain amount of gold. When you got like 100 wins on rank, you got a certain amount of gold. And then when you got 1,000, you got another amount of gold. Now, these achievements were one-time things, right? That gave you a set amount of gold. And I feel like Street Fighter V is going to have the same thing, you know, where if you complete like the arcade mode with every single character, you get this amount of fight money. I mean, Guilty Gear even has it. You know, if you complete the story mode, you get like a certain amount of fight money. Complete arcade mode with every character, you get a certain amount of world dollars, not fight money. So I'm assuming that Street Fighter V is going to follow a similar route, which is fine for me, so long as it is so long as they don't make the conversion rate something ridiculous. I'm fine with this method, because if I enjoy this game, I'm going to be playing it a lot, and I think I'm going to earn a lot of fight money. And then unlike Hearthstone, the issue with Hearthstone, the issue that made me spend money with Hearthstone was the fact that it was random, right?
Yeah.
There was no way for me to quantify how long it was going to take me to get Sylvanas, because Sylvanas, I just had to keep buying packs and hoping, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
But then with this, I know for a fact, you know, say Charlie gets released, and even if it is like for every 100 games that I win, I get 5 fight money, and I need 500 to buy Charlie, at least then I can do the math, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully that is not
the biggest. I think the biggest thing about this is like it is going to be dependent on how much work you're going to be willing to put into getting the character via fight money.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what's gonna like. Is it gonna be one of those things where it's like, am I gonna have to play for an entire like week, or like several weeks in order to unlock one character? Or is it going to be something where, like, if I put, like, a solid, like, maybe, 6 or 8 hours into this game doing challenges and single player and whatnot, will I be able to unlock this character? I think once we know how fast you can make fight money in the game, it will really, we'll be able to put our, like, 2 cents on this.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big thing.
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you're going to need like a couple of weeks to gain enough fight money to unlock characters, especially since the characters are being released 2 months apart.
Yeah, I guess that's true. No,
I'm gonna assume that it's gonna take a couple of weeks to gain enough fight money to buy a single character. Because remember that you can also buy these characters with real money. So for them to be able to incentivize us to spend real money, it can't be like 6.
Be that fast.
It can't be 6 or 8 hours. That, like, if that's the case, nobody outside of those few kids with trust funds will buy the season pass. You know.
Yeah. Oh, that sucks. Oh, but there's still really cool stuff. I am excited for Street Fighter. Oh boy, it's coming soon, and you are going to witness some really amazing stuff.
I'm so excited.
Oh, it's going to be great. Anyway, let's talk about our question of the day. Jay Street sends us another question. He asked us, do you believe that esports needs a governing body to regulate the pro players and implement drug testing and a standard set of rules? So I'm curious to see what your thoughts on this was before I chime in and whatnot.
I think, yes, I think so. I feel like, for example, let me give you an example. There's this thing in fighting games, right? Every now and then you have like, if you pause in the middle of a match, the person that paused, the person who, oh my God, the other player. If I pause, if me and you are playing and I pause in the middle of a match, you have the right to take that round, right? You don't have to, however, right? And a lot of people have complained about this because it then puts you in an awkward position because you feel like an asshole if you take the round, but at the same time, it is your right. Because say, for example, you're comboing me, right?
Yeah.
And then I accidentally pause. There's no way you are not going to drop that combo after I unpause, right?
Exactly. So it makes a difference in like if it's especially in fighting games, if one combo can make the difference between a win and a lose. So if you pause, then yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So then, like, so what a lot of people have said, and then it's like it's at the it's on a case by case basis, right? And a lot of people have said that there should just be an overall ruling on it. Be like, if you pause, you lose the round automatically, right? And there are a lot of other examples like that. So I feel like maybe not one governing body because that would be kind of ridiculous, but a governing, but like the same way like the NBA have their own governing body, the NFL have their own. I feel like fighting games will should have their own governing body. MOBA should have their own. Shooters should have their own. It's something like that because if we're going to if people are playing for like large sums of money, nothing can be left to there can't be any questions. There has to be like there has to be someone that comes in. And then there's another thing that happens. Every now and then, right? In fighting game tournaments, two people will do this thing called a split, right? The two people in grand finals will split. What they do is that they will not play to their best, right?
Yeah.
They'll just play for fun, and then the first place person and the second place person they'll combine the first place money and second place money and split it 50-50, right? Which is really shady. And what some tournament organizers do is when they notice a split, they give the third place person the first place money and the second place money, and then they split the third place money with first and second. That's what they do, right? For the because like the third person places best, and then first and second, then split it. So like I feel like that's another thing that it's not a governing rule right now. It's just something that tournament organizers do on a case by case basis. If they notice two people splitting. So I feel like that should also be a rule. So for stuff like that, I definitely feel like a governing body can only do more good than harm. And plus, this governing body is going to be run by members of the community, right? We're not going to bring we're not going to bring Frodan in from Hearthstone, the governing body on Street Fighter 5. It's going to be like people that are in the community. So I feel like if that's the case, then it can only do more good than harm.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. Like, it's interesting because it's like, because now it's like the people are starting to try and iron out the comparisons between sports and esports, right?
Yeah.
And I always find it's hard to like. There's some comparisons in a lot of ways, but the biggest thing I find is that like, it's kind of like we have the problem where it's like our equipment can fail, like you know what I mean, and that can affect an outcome of an actual game. It's like, imagine if you were playing hockey and all of a sudden your hockey stick just blew into a million pieces.
That actually happens.
Well, I know that does happen, but I mean like literally just all of a sudden your team's hockey sticks start blowing up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's weird in the sense where it's like we have like equipment failures. Like the one thing that I was hearing that was happening recently, I think there was like a game at Evo or something like that where it wasn't, you know how the pause, right? They can take the round and whatnot. But it wasn't the players. Really wasn't the players' fault. It was specifically the equipment that they were using. Like the stick itself just kind of shat the bed at the worst possible moment. So, and in those situations, like how do you respond to stuff like that? So I feel like in a lot of ways, a governing body to kind of figure out how to balance out like things like this happening, I think would be good overall. I don't think drug testing would be. I mean, probably would be, good, but I don't think it's super. I don't know that many esports guys that are like, oh, that guy's clearly a crackhead, like obviously. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I joked about this with you before we started recording, but one of my friends mentioned that before he plays Gears of War, he usually smokes a J, and the game just slows down for him. But like, I don't think like until it becomes like an actual problem, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people actually play high. I have no doubt in my mind. People, for God's sake, I was just watching a top 8 recently where a guy was drinking like during his match. He went through like 3 bottles of beer during his.
Yeah, like I think realistically, like you shouldn't be doing that necessarily, at least on like a professional standpoint. But if it's like something for shits and giggles, like I'm not going against drunk gaming. I've done drunk gaming before, and it's fucking awesome. But I feel like in a professional situation, I don't think that would be that acceptable.
Yeah, but no, I feel like drug testing. No, I don't unless it becomes a serious problem, and I cannot think of a single drug that would actually give someone an advantage in a video game. I cannot think of one drug that would give anyone an advantage in a video game.
Unless I can't, because I don't know many drugs that enhance concentration or something like that, because that's the biggest thing, is that I feel like all video games come from concentration. Like, if you really, really want to get good, you need good reflexes and concentration. Like, those are two cornerstones of becoming really good at video games. And I feel like I know a lot of drugs, but oh yeah, obviously I'm a huge druggie here. Sorry to spoil it. I don't know that many drugs that do that. Oh god, and this is not canon.
It's like obviously I know a lot of drugs.
I obviously know a lot. Wait, I think I need to back up my statement here.
Whoa there.
Oh god. Yeah, I think we
God.
need to end on that.
Yeah, we should probably start wrapping.
All right, good question, J Streets. Keep them up. Good stuff. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and leave a comment in the comment section. We'll make sure to answer it in the next podcast. And as always, this was William Liberty, and
Fawwaz Muhammad Yusuf.
see you guys next time. Take care.